Bet horse racing on DRF Bets. We'll match your first deposit of $200. Get free expert picks and past performances, plus weekly cash back. All from Daily Racing Form, the most trusted name in horse racing.
Hi everyone, I'm David Aragona, and this is the January 25th edition of Horses to Watch, where we carefully analyze trips from the last week, looking for horses that encountered adversity and could be worth betting back when they run back in the future. This week I've got 3 replays to look at from last weekend at Aqueduct, and it was one of those situations that we typically see crop up every now and then during the winter season at Aqueduct, track biases, and that was definitely the case last Saturday and Sunday at Aqueduct. It seemed like the inside couple of paths, particularly the rail path, was really the place to be on both Saturday, January 21st and Sunday, January 22nd. So we're going to talk about a few replays from those 2 days. Let's begin with the replay from that Saturday, January 21st card. This was the 5th race of the day, a claiming $20,000 event going a mile out of the chute. Let's break these runners from the gate, and I'm going to focus on the number 8 Optic Way. He was done no favors, first of all, by the post position draw, drawing the far outside post position in this field because it's going to be difficult to get to the coveted rail path when you draw all the way out there. And also there was some speed that was sending to his inside, so he was forced to stalk 3 wide, and that just turned out to not be the place to be, particularly because of the track bias, but also because this pace was really heating up on the front end. The track was pretty slow on this day, so the fractions might not seem that fast, 23-1, but they were really moving through these opening couple of calls here down the backstretch, and Optic Way is traveling 3 wide. He was making his first start off the claim here for trainer Jose Camejo, who does have good numbers off the claim, being ridden by Romero Mirage, but this horse is coming off a little bit of a layoff. Had put forth a really nice effort in his prior start for trainer Derek Ryan, so looking to get back to that, and I think he arguably ran just as well as last time, but just wasn't allowed to achieve that same result due to the trip that he got, chasing outside the entire way. And you do want to note, the eventual winner of this race is not even in the picture right now. He's actually the number 2. You can see his chiclet at the bottom of the screen. He's coming into the picture right there. So this race was won by a deep closer that came from far back in the pack, and he's actually going to angle to the inside to make his run, as many horses did that were successful on this Saturday card. But you can see Optic Way, even though he was just 1 horse off the rail coming around the far turn, he was really in the 3 to 4 path at that point and stays out in the middle of the racetrack as they run through the stretch. That eventual winner actually sneaks through inside of him late, but he never gives up. He keeps running through the wire here, ultimately going to finish 5th. But as I said, the other horses that were successful in this race all came from towards the back of the pack. The horses that were involved in that pace finished far behind him. One of them was practically eased in there. So I think Optic Way ran a lot better than it looks on this day, and he was claimed once again out of this race by trainer Rudy Rodriguez. So I'll be interested to see what he can do for that new barn in his subsequent start. Let's move on to the very next race on that Saturday, January 21st card. This was race 6. It's a starter allowance, 12,500, going 6 furlongs on the main track. And let's break these runners from the gate. I want to focus on the number 5, Yes Sir Robert. You're not going to see him right away. He's in those white silks, but you're going to see him get steadied back right there. We're highlighting him along with the horse just to his outside. They both kind of got squeezed out at that point about half a furlong into the race, and that was really not what you wanted to see happen to Yes Sir Robert in particular, because he's a horse that in his prior races in the Mid-Atlantic Circuit had shown a lot of speed, and I think that's why his jockey Jorge Vargas is trying to make up for that early trouble right here by launching this premature move to try to move up into contention around the far turn pier. But like I was saying in the prior replay, you wanted to be inside on this day at Aqueduct, and you can see this horse is going 5 wide around the far turn here while making this early move. That was just never going to be a successful strategy. And do note the other horse that broke slowly, the number 6, Durkin's Call, he got over to the rail. And actually, 2 of the horses that were most successful in this race were in the 1 to 2 path throughout, the winner O'Trouble and that second place finisher Durkin's Call, who saved all that ground coming around the far turn. Not the case for the number 5, Yes Sir Robert, who we just highlighted at the top of the stretch there. He stayed out in the 5 to 6 path and finishes up decently. I think he crosses the wire 5th in this race. Not disgraceful considering the trouble that he had at the start and the fact that he was so wide on the track, but just never had a chance to achieve a better result than that given those circumstances working against him. I don't know where we're going to see this horse show up next time because, like I was alluding to, he's not based on the NYRA circuit. He's from the Mid-Atlantic region, Charlestown, the Maryland tracks. He's going out for trainer Jonathan Maldonado. So we might see him at a different racetrack or different circuit in the future, but he's one that I'd put in your stable mail just to see where he shows up, because this is a horse that had a tough trip when he tried this tougher circuit in this race last weekend. Let's finish things up with one replay from that Sunday, January 22nd card. This was actually the feature race this day, race 8, the Franklin Square Stakes, going 6 furlongs for the New York bred 3-year-old fillies. And we can break these runners from the gate. And I'm going to focus on the number 1, Starry Midnight, who drew the right post position to have success, but did not get the right trip after breaking from this rail post position, because you can see right here, as soon as she kind of gets put in behind horses, she starts leaping up in the air, taking these awkward strides. And that's what you call climbing. Often you see horses do that when they're reacting badly to the kickback getting thrown into their faces. And Jose Lascano, who was on her this day, just basically had no other option but to try to wheel her to the far outside and basically get her out of that kickback that she was reacting so poorly to. And when he does that, he's forced to go about 4 to 5 wide into the far turn. And like I've been saying, that is just not the kind of trip that was going to lead to a successful result this past weekend at Aqueduct. And she's trying to play catch up at this point. It's just not going to work in this race, because the horse that was the even money favorite gets to that rail, is setting a pretty moderate pace, and they're just never going to be able to catch Stonewall Star, who is the dominant winner of this race. And you can see Starry Midnight, she's trying to make this slingshot move off the far turn to make up some ground like she did in her career debut, but it's just not going to work out in this race, because you can't be on the worst part of the racetrack trying to do that against a tougher field. And she's actually going to fade to finish last in this race, but I wouldn't view this as the discouraging result that it might seem like when she shows up in the PPs next time out, because while she had run much better in her debut, she had some things working in her favor that day. The pace, it was a weaker field, and she didn't have this rail bias to deal with when she made that big wide run. I'm a little bit discouraged that she didn't get over the greenness that she displayed in her debut, because she did the same thing that day coming out of the starting gate, kind of climbing down the backstretch, reacting badly to kickback. You do want to see horses get over that at some point, but do note that she has drawn the rail in both starts of her career, and I would pay attention to what post position she draws in her next start, because she does seem like a horse that might be much more effective if she's able to get away from an outside post position and not have to deal with that kickback right after the start of a race, perhaps not losing that early position. So Starry Midnight's a horse that I would pay attention to next time if she draws a better post position. Those were all the horses to watch this week. I just highlighted 3 replays, but these Saturday and Sunday cards at Aqueduct, they're ones that you can go back and watch a variety of races and find horses that got wide trips, because there were a lot of runners that were compromised by the bias this past week. So if you want to add these horses to your watch mail, or any others that you find in watching replays yourself, you can do so on DRF.com. Just under your account, add horses to your horse list, and you'll get email notifications when these horses are entered back in the future. So thanks for tuning in to Horses to Watch this week, and make sure to catch future episodes on upcoming Wednesdays.